If you're in Germany, then grab a ticket and come to Cologne to Gamescom. It's going to be awesome.
Perfect.
Yes, Colin, I know you're just dying out of excitement to go to Gamescom.
Well, I'd love to go, but I don't know if it's a realistic thing to plan for or not.
Yeah. Right on. So, I guess one of the big, I don't know if you'd call it internet outrage or not, but the physical warfare pack that was kind of released. Can you kind of explain
the what
a bit
pack?
more about that?
I don't remember. What pack? What was that?
You've never heard of this before? I know it seems to be straightened out now, but do you want to kind of quickly talk about that and maybe clear the air a little bit?
Yeah. The physical warfare pack was for certain retailers, and if you pre-order from that retailer, you got an additional bonus, and this bonus in this case was a physical warfare pack. So what can be said about the physical warfare pack is that although Battlefield is a competitive multiplayer game, Battlefield is based around the multiplayer. We add in single player just to make it a better deal, and plus we just like making single player these days. We have such huge potential when it comes to storyline and co-op and that kind of stuff. But back to multiplayer, it's a competitive multiplayer game, so people don't want other people to have advantages based on where they bought the game and in what region and that kind of stuff. But the physical warfare pack from the beginning also didn't have any real tactical advantages over people. And generally every weapon in the game, in Battlefield 3, you can always counter anything someone does, pretty much.
Right.
There are no super weapons in BF3. That's such a balance doesn't exist in Battlefield 3. And these weapons are not going to cause any, overpowered situations where you get in a tangle and it's just going to blow you off the map. That's not going to happen, pretty much. So we, even before the thread went out on Reddit, we actually discussed this pretty much. And when we saw the thread going big on Reddit, when we saw the forums saying, come on guys, this is just not making any sense, the physical warfare pack and that kind of stuff, right. We decided to make it available after 30 days.
Yeah, so it's just a timed exclusive now instead of a entire exclusive.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. That'll give a lot more balance than, because there was a concern that you'd be playing against people that would have a better gun forever, and the only way you'd be able to use it is pick up a kit. But I think people are a little confused about that. So.
Yeah, and I do understand people when they say, how do we know it's not overpowered? We need to try it out first. And of course, people want to try out stuff before we actually tell them stuff. I mean, it's the same thing with making a game. People are not going to believe you that the game is awesome until they actually see stuff from the game.
Right.
So people want to see stuff. They want to try these things out before they actually, take a side and say, okay, this is not overpowered, this is overpowered. When it comes to graphics, it's a very easy thing. You can actually see it on a trailer, you can see it on pictures and that kind of stuff. But when it comes to weapons are highly individual. Some people might say something's overpowered, some people don't think it's overpowered. So people actually need to try out these things in order to see that they're not overpowered. They're not just going to believe anything you say.
Right. And that'll come with the demo or the beta.
Yeah. Let's just make it clear for everyone in the chat that's Bad Company 2. It's not Battlefield 2, by the way. I just needed to. It's not Battlefield 3, so let's just make it clear.
Yeah. Maybe next podcast we'll stream Battlefield 3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So, what are EA and DICE planning for a support lifecycle on Battlefield 3? Is it going to be a 1 year, 2 year thing? Is there a longer term support strategy? Game developers now seem to crank out, or publishers seem to crank out a new title every year. But is the intent for Battlefield 3 to be the game for longer than a year?
Yes, we are going to support Battlefield 3 as much as we can, pretty much. And that's all I can say, unfortunately.
Right now, yeah.
But with Battlefield 3, it's a special situation. I mean, this is a game that we've been dying to make ever since we made Battlefield 2. We just haven't found the right way of making it. And ever since we started working on the new Frostbite 2 or the new engine that is Frostbite 2, we see so many opportunities to create stuff that it's just amazing. It's mind-blowing what this engine can do. So I mean, we'll stick to Battlefield 3. We'll keep supporting it as much as we can. It's a game we love to make. We love to play it. So
perfect. So I guess getting more into a little bit of specifics, in Battlefield 2 you had the different classes, and then in Bad Company 2 you went with the 4. Why did DICE stick with 4 classes for Battlefield 3?
because we say so, Chris.
Good.
No,
Enough.
I mean, there were a lot of classes in BF2, and a lot of hardcore players really want the old class setup. Now, if you look at the class setup for Battlefield 3, you can see that all classes are very, very customizable. So you are pretty much, I wouldn't say unique, because there would be some other people on the other side of the world who has the same customizations as you do. But you do have a very specific way of setting up your class with your attachments and your customizations and that kind of stuff. So it's an overflow of classes, pretty much. 4 classes is basically enough, as we see it, and then you can customize whatever you want to add in.
Right.
So,
the
so
3
that's
different.
Yeah. So that's why we're sticking to 4 classes, pretty much.
And those, I know we've talked about this before on the podcast, but those 3 customizations: ammo, optics, and what was the third one? Is it rails to put stuff on?
Yeah.
Right. So it's a little bit similar to Medal of Honor.
Like all your customizations will be based on your weapon and not your character?
Most of your customizations will be based on your weapon, yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
And it has
So-
been confirmed that there's no way to do increased damage or increased health or anything like that, I believe.
Hashtag no comments. For now,
I have
that
to
is.
talk to
For now.
Demise about that. Yeah.
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 So I know in the demo, beta, or whatever, pre-alpha we played at E3, and the one that was shown at DreamHack, the sniper rifles that were used had a bit of scope sway in them.
Yes.
Is that to specifically counter something, or is that a new realistic aspect that you're trying to put in?
I wouldn't say too realistic. I would say it's to stop overusing snipers, pretty much.
Right.
A lot of the comments on BC2 is the Wookiee problem, pretty much.
Right.
And we're countering that problem by adding the scope sway for the snipers, and if you lie in some place with the sniper for too long, the reflection of your optical lens will show. So you can actually see where the sniper is.
Oh, okay.
You can see it physically, like, drawn out in the world, but you can see the reflection on the scope, and then you know, okay, that's where I'm supposed to shoot. So yeah, it's pretty much to balance the gameplay out.
Right, and kind of stop the whole camping situation. I know a lot of people are worried about prone with bipods and
Yes.
surge suppressors and everything else, and
Yeah,
I've been
no-
trying to...
I mean, people are in the right mind to be worried about it too. I mean, prone means that you're lying down. I mean, you're lying down somewhere in a tight spot or whatever. That means that you're camping, pretty much.
Right.
And to counter that camping experience that people sometimes have, or even me have, you need to give some incentives to people to move. And when you know that your reflection on the scope will show, you will be on the move. You won't lie down in some place forever, because you know you'll always get picked out.
And I know so far, obviously this can change at any moment. So far, we haven't seen a ghillie suit in the game, so I guess we'll see what happens in the final product.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
pretty much.
Might be no more Wookiee jokes.
Oh, I love
That
those Wookiee jokes, though.
I know.
Well, that's why I was so upset about prone coming into the game, was because right now the only way you can tell the difference between a live Wookiee and a dead Wookiee is if the dead one lies down. And now, how am I going to tell?
That's why we're going out to all these big trade shows. That's why we're actually showing the game. We're giving the public a chance to play the game and say, look, so what do you think about this game? Like we did at E3, or even most definitely what we did at DreamHack, where we're going to do a Gamescom and some community events coming forward. I mean, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people who don't like the game, pretty much. Who can tell us,
Okay.
what didn't you like? You actually played the game. You didn't just hang around in a forum not having played the game.
Yeah. And so I guess the camping Wookiees is something that you're trying to is a mechanic of the game that you're trying to deal with, and people sitting back and sniping, ignoring the objective. I think that's something that we all kind of struggle with who play the Bad Company 2. Is quick scoping something that you're going to try and cancel off as a game mechanic as well, or balance in some way?
I mean, quick scoping. I mean, as you saw in the trailer, scoping isn't really 1 millisecond thing in BF3, as you saw in the different trailers. When you scope, you actually have to scope. You have to stabilize your crosshair and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
What is also there in the quick scoping thing is that as a sniper, you have snipe the scope sway, which adds to it.
Right.
So there are different things that are limiting the quick scoping thing. That are limiting stuff that can be overpowered or be overused for one person's benefit. It's supposed to be fun to play the game.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, and that might, why we're easing people's concerns over Wookiees. A lot of people are talking about dolphin diving and drop shotting and stuff like that, and that's not in Battlefield 3. Like that's
well, you
when I
played the
it-
game at E3. How was it?
I was a little worried, like Colin, I was a little worried, but we specifically tried to drop shot and everything else, and there's a motion. It seems very balanced to me. You can
There
get
you go.
killed while
Game
going
finished.
into prone.
Let's just ship it.
Ship
It's
it.
done.
Do it.
I'd buy it. So, well, that's good. Maybe we'll see less Wookiees and less quick scopers, but that might upset some people in the chat.
Yes. Yes.
So I know you can't talk about this. I've tried to get it out of you a couple times, but when can we kind of expect to hear about hardware specs? A little bit before the beta, maybe?
Before we actually go into hardware specs, the game needs to reach a certain level of dev process, pretty much.
Right.
We need to be very, very sure that, okay, this is the set spec. Because if we start giving out system specs right now, or maybe even at E3 or 2 weeks after E3, what we don't want is that people rush to hardware stores to get the latest and greatest graphics card and, build rigs for thousands and thousands of dollars, and then we come out with another message saying, okay guys, you didn't really need all that, you needed this instead, which would save them $1,000. So, I mean, there are a lot of things that need to be taken into account. Now I'm trying to sound like a hippie caring for people's money, but it's true. I mean, you can't really say a thing and then pull it back and then say another thing that doesn't benefit people,
Right.
So we will give out system specs when we are very, very sure that, okay, this is really it. This is what we're going to do. These are the hardware specs. This is definitely what you need. We're not going to change it. The game is still in a very deep development process. We're a few months away from launch. So I can't really say for sure what hardware specs you need.
Right. Yeah, and that's something... is it still considered pre-alpha, or are we in alpha now?
We were in pre-alpha. We're in alpha now.
Alpha, yeah. So things change on a daily basis. And,
Yes.
Like you say, all of a sudden you're finding out you need a huge graphics card, and then turns out you don't.
Yeah, you could have bought your mama a present instead. Or something like that, or a dad, or whatever.
Well, that's what I do with my extra money.
Oh yeah.
You're a very nice person, Chris.
Yeah. Right on. And I guess we'll touch on this. I know you can't answer this, but a lot of people ask me about it. Information about the beta.
Yeah.
It's coming, correct?
Yes, information about the beta will come to people. I'm in a very tricky spot. I want to tell people about it, but I can't. But information about the beta will come. Medal of Honor people, don't be scared. You will